Okay, so the first question is, do you think that messages become altered or filtered through different communication patterns? Or, different communication platforms?
Well, obviously, I do think that messages change not only by the environment that we hear the message, but I think I'm kind of a big fan of medium theory of McLuhan and these sort of guys, that different mediums can actually sort of infect the message in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're seeing this right now with this nomination process with Sotomayor, for the Supreme Court.
Oh, of course. Mm-hmm.
Where we're seeing sort of different messages sort of being put out there, and almost as like trial balloons to sort of see how they react with the public. And then, there's like a process going on to refine that message, to figure out what the actual meta-narrative will be. By meta-narrative, I mean that the sort of assumed conventional wisdom of this person, which hasn't been established yet.
Why do you think that it's important for us to know about this idea of media convergence? Do you think it's important?
I'm sorry, Jenny, when you say media convergence, do you mean convergence in terms of the apparatus, in terms of technologies, or convergence in terms of the actual content of the medium, as in say like the convergence of news and entertainment that we might see from something like The Daily Show or something like that?
Both. If you can comment on both, that would be great.
Okay. Okay, this is tall order, but let me see what I can do here. Okay, in terms of the apparatus, obviously we're seeing that. I taught this class on viral videos in the winter, and one of the amazing things about viral videos is we're starting to see a sort of environment where people will create these videos that are viewed by more people than watch the evening news on the network in the evening.
Wow.
David goes to the dentist or something like this. So all of a sudden, what begins to happen, and this is something that I guess McLuhan or some of those medium theorist guys would say, is that these new media begin to democratize our culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're sort of breaking down these gates, the gatekeepers, right? One of the things McLuhan talked about was, is a medium unidirectional or is it bidirectional?
Right.
So unidirectional would be broadcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
We get it broadcast into our homes and we just sort of consume it, but we don't have anything to contribute to it. Whereas with digital media, it's bidirectional.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, because of that, it has this incredible potential to democratize things, to where people can then begin to actually speak back to the media, which is kind of exciting. Now, obviously, whenever you have a lot of free speech going on, you have a lot of dumb speech too. So that's why we have a lot of fart jokes and stuff like this online and this kind of stuff. But I do think that the potential is there for it to really change things. So that's something that's really excited, that's, I think, engendered by the apparatus, and whether that's, we're sort of consumed by these screens, whether that's our iPod or our iTouch or our phone or our computer or our television. These screens are starting to take over our lives in frightening but also kind of beautiful ways. And right now we're right on the precipice of the wireless revolution, which has already started, but to the point where everyone's going to have wireless phones that access the internet, and all of a sudden that's going to change everything. And Twitter, I think, is just kind of a rough attempt at that, Right now, I mean, Facebook is maybe a little more sophisticated in showing how this kind of stuff is going to work out. So then in terms of the message, we can see that, things have really changed, right? To where you've got some little kid out in Boise, Idaho, can collect some clips off of the evening news and put them together in a way that's a damning indictment of the media news, on some level, or that essentially shows it to be some sort of a farce, or in some ways, the consumers themselves become critics. That is, they begin to be fact checkers, to where they say, wait a minute, this particular politician said this at this other point in time, and now they're saying this, which would seem to be in direct contradiction to what they originally said. And all of a sudden now, either through a link to a text on the Associated Press, or now, even more frighteningly, to a link to an actual video, it all of a sudden changes things. So the big example of this would be George Allen with the macaca moment, if you remember, during the last, was this like the 2006 election or something, where he called someone macaca, and it ended up on YouTube, and then all of a sudden that pretty much sunk his chances of higher office, really. So really, I think these kind of things are sort of taking over in this way, and I don't think it's quite clear. And in a way, maybe I'm oversimplifying this when I say it. It probably sounds like, oh, well, isn't this obvious? Yeah, of course this is what happens, but I don't think we quite realize the magnitude of what it actually means. I think that in a way the amazing thing is that when we get a new technology, how unamazed by it we are. Whether it's the iPod or our phone that accesses the internet, we just immediately envelop it into our daily lives and don't really have an idea of what it's doing to change our culture or change our ideology or change our way of communicating with not only on a mass level between our society, but also on a sort of more interpersonal level.